Hey folks, this is Mr. Young, and I am going to give you a mini lesson on naming branched alkanes. Last class you learned about alkanes, and now I'm going to teach you what to do when you've got alkanes that are a little more complicated than you saw in the first ChemCrunch. We're going to be following along on page 24 in your unit pack, and I just want to first I want to recap what you learned last class in that ChemCrunch. Okay, you learned about organic compounds that contain carbon. You learned about hydrocarbons, compounds that contain only carbon and hydrogen, like CH4, C2H6, etc. You learned the term alkanes. These are hydrocarbons with only single bonds. They don't have any double bonds, they don't have any triple bonds. We'll learn about double and triple bonded hydrocarbons very soon. We also learned about the idea of a structural formula and a condensed formula. The structural formula actually shows you where the hydrogens are attached to the carbons that are part of the carbon chain. The condensed formula is kind of a shortcut. It still shows you the carbon chain. It tells you how many hydrogens are attached in each spot. And from the condensed formula, you can pretty much figure out the structural formula, but it's sort of a shortcut way. You don't have to draw as many lines, etc., etc. Okay, so here's what you really need right now. Hit pause and get your reference tables and turn to page 24. You need table P and table Q in your reference tables, and you need page 24 in your unit pack. Okay, here we go. On page 24, here is an alkane that looks kind of scary. It's more complicated than we saw in the first ChemCrunch that you did last class. So this is a branched alkane, where it is a carbon chain, but it's got some weird extra branches sticking off of it. So if you've got a branched alkane like this, here's what you got to do. First, step one says we count the longest chain of carbon atoms, and this is the parent chain. Okay, so we have to look around and find the longest possible chain of carbon atoms in this diagram. And so it looks like right there, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons. So there's no way to get a longer chain. So just right on through here, 5 carbons. And what do we call that? We call it a pentane. Why? Because in table P, anything with a 5-carbon chain is a pentane. So this term pentane is going to be part of the name of this branched alkane. Now we have to do something to make things a little organized. We have to number the carbons in the chain. We actually are going to write numbers on the chain. Now the rule here says you must start from the end that gives you the lowest numbers for the branches. And in this example above, so the question asks, would you choose to give the branches numbers of 3 and 4 or 2 and 3? Well, the rule says we want to number it, so we end up with the lowest numbers. We want to start numbering from the end that gives us the lowest numbers. 2 and 3 are lower numbers. So watch as I number this, and it'll make a little more sense. I'm going to number it from this end. So now we have a carbon at branch number 2 and branch number 3. If I had started numbering it at this end on the right side, it would have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My branches would have been at 3 and at 4. So I had to start numbering it at this end to end up with lower numbers. And I ended up with a branch at 2 and a branch at 3. That's lower than a branch at 3 and a branch at 4. Okay, next up, we've named this thing partially as a pentane, and we've numbered the carbons in the parent chain, and now we just have to go on to step 3. We have to name these groups on the branches. We got a group here, and we've got a group here. Well, how do we name them? We start with the prefix using the number of carbons that are in the branch that we get from table P. Okay? Table P would tell us that something with 1 carbon would be a methyl, something with 2 carbons would be an ethyl, something with 3 carbons would be a propyl. Okay, so we look at what is each branch. Well, this is a branch with 1 carbon. Here's a branch with 1 carbon. So we've got a methyl group at number 2. Carbon number 2 is where it sticks off of. And we've got another methyl group sticking off of carbon number 3 in our parent chain. Okay, we named them methyl because the rule says we change those meth and eth and prop names by adding a YL suffix. So they become ethyl, methyl, propyl, pentyl, butyl, etc., etc. Okay, next rule. We have to include a prefix in front of the group name if it occurs more than once in the whole molecule. What that means is here we have a methyl and another methyl. Okay, so we're going to call that a dimethyl. Okay? If there were 3 of them, we'd call it a trimethyl. 4 of them would be a tetramethyl. Okay? So this will be a dimethyl pentane. Okay? Now, we're going to have some numbers in this name to show where the methyls are attached. Let's look at these examples of how we write these numbers. 4,5,7 trimethyl means 3 methyl groups attached at 4, 5, and 7. Trimethyl means 3 methyl groups. Where are they attached? At carbons number 4, 5, and 7 in the chain. Here's another more complicated example. 3-methyl 5,6-diethyl. That means there's a methyl at number 3. Right here, there's a methyl. Where is it? It's at number 3 in the chain. And there's diethyl. So there are 2 ethyl groups. Where are they? They're at number 5 and number 6 in the chain. So in this case, we got a methyl at number 2 and a methyl at number 3. We're going to call this 2,3-dimethyl pentane. Okay, now rule number 5 doesn't apply in this case. It would only apply if we have an ethyl group and a methyl, or a methyl and a pentyl, some different groups that are attached to it. So you name them in alphabetical order by their group names. So in this example, would you name a molecule 3-ethyl 2,3-dimethyl or 2,3-dimethyl 3-ethyl decade? Well, we go by the group names and we ignore the prefixes. So we'd use this, putting ethyl before the dimethyl. E comes before the M in dimethyl in the alphabet. Okay? Finally, a couple of important points. What's up with the commas and the hyphens? Well, we always put commas between numbers in this kind of naming, and hyphens go between a number and a group name or vice versa. So after the numbers but before the group name starts, we put a hyphen, or if we have to end a group name and start with some more numbers, then we use a hyphen again. But commas always go between numbers. Okay? Thanks for watching.